Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. Before we start today's video, I just need to talk about what happened recently. So the last time we spoke, I had just been in what I call a car accident, even though nothing happened that could be considered a car accident that I was involved in. But on the back of that, I've been talking to the police. More things are happening in regards to that, and overall, I am absolutely fine, as is my partner. We have also since heard from other people that were involved in the incident that night, and they are also all okay. What I mean by that is there was no fatalities. I don't know if everyone's mental health is truly okay, and a few people were very badly injured, but on the whole, everyone is still here, so therefore I'm considering everyone to be okay. I just want to shout out everyone who commented on that video. I know you follow me because you're interested in the content that this channel produces, but the fact that you came to me on a very personal level and you really wanted to know if I was okay, and also from that point I was posting a lot of shorts just because it was the most easy content for me to create. Some of you also noticed that it was repurposed content, it was old content, but still you were so kind to me, and I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for truly caring about my well-being. So enough of that, let's get into today's video. So today's video is more about the weird and the bizarre. We are going to talk about a lady called Marina Abramovic, and in particular, her performance piece, Rhythm Zero. We will be going back to true crime in the next couple of weeks, and I am working on the case that most of you have asked me to research. I am so truly nervous about bringing this video out just because so many people have asked for it, but there is still so many people that are a fan of the person that has committed the crimes. So if that didn't give you enough clues, I will just tell you. And Heart of a Daedra, this one's for you because I'm pretty sure you were the first person to ask for this video. But we will, in the next few weeks, be looking at the case of Ian Watkins. Again, I'm really nervous to bring out this video because although I was a fan of Lost Prophets, I'm not a fan of Ian Watkins now. I'm not a fan of Ian Watkins 10 years ago, but there are a lot of people that are still die-hard fans of Ian Watkins, and even on shorts that I posted, a month ago, they're still telling me how much of a bad person I am. And that's just on a short. That's just telling people that things happened to him in prison. That's not going into the depths of what he did. But it has been requested. I have been writing it for quite a few months now, just because I want to get it really, really right. So we have to bring that video out. But until then, let's talk about today's topic, which is Rhythm Zero. Marina Abramovic is a conceptual and performance artist. She explores the human body's endurance, body art, the limits of the body, and the possibilities of the mind. And she refers to herself as the grandmother of performance art. Marina was born in former Yugoslavia, Belgrade, right after WW2. I have to say it like that because YouTube has a problem with wording. Her date of birth is the 30th of November 1946, and at the time of this video, she is 76 years old. In her early years, her parents were very politically active. They had served in the army in WW2. The fact that both of her parents had military-style backgrounds makes for no surprise that her household was incredibly strict and regimented. Until the age that she was 29 years old, she could not leave her house beyond 10 p.m. But even when she wasn't allowed to leave the house, she would be focusing on her art pieces and waiting for opportunities as to when she could perform them. She first created Rhythm 10 in 1973, and this was in Edinburgh in Scotland. So in this performance piece, she would have 10 knives and 2 tape recorders, and what she would aim to do is place her hand flat on the ground and then stab the knife in between her fingers. And she wouldn't try and hurt herself, but if she did hurt herself with the knife, what she would do is change that knife for another one. She would then play the recording back and try to replicate this on a separate tape recorder. So it was just her in a room with just some tape recorders, and it was actually quite dangerous because she could have done serious harm to herself. She said that she was inspired by the drinking game Russian roulette. In her 2016 memoir, Walk Through Walls, she said that she was incredibly nervous to do this performance, but she was overcome with the seriousness of wanting to complete this piece. She said that for her, art was like life and death. I find that really interesting because for me, I see art as like paintings and museums of sculptures and stuff like that, or also found in nature, things that are really beautiful. But for Marina, her idea of art, and still is to this day, is in performances of pain and endurance. From this first performance, she was inspired to create a rhythm series, and this series ran between 1973 and 1974. She had a multitude of education from fine art academies, and as soon as she was done with her degree, she would immediately go to performing her art. The former mentioned Rhythm 10 was first, but this was actually the least dramatic of all of her rhythm series. Rhythm 5 was her next piece, where she would lay her body into a burning star. So to explain this, she would put her body, so she would get in and lay down inside a star that was roughly the same size as her body, but a surrounding star around that, I think it was made of like wood, was covered in fire. So effectively, Marina would be burning throughout this entire performance. And although the fire couldn't actually get to her to physically burn her, she could inhale the smoke fumes for the entirety. It was also incredibly hot, like furnace hot. So for this performance, she would cut her nails, she would cut her hair, throw that into the burning star, and then lay down into the star that was smaller to about the size of her body. During the first few minutes of this performance, there was visible signs that she was extremely uncomfortable. But even though she was uncomfortable, she refused to get out of the star because she did not want it to ruin her performance. Not too much later, but later enough, it was found that Marina had actually fallen unconscious, but a lot of people didn't actually know at what point she fell unconscious because they thought it was part of the performance. They also didn't know if she fell unconscious from the pain that she was in or the fumes that she ingested. There was a doctor actually watching this performance, and he noticed that parts of the burning star was falling onto her neck and her feet, but she remained still, which then indicated that she had gone unconscious, and so they decided then it was time to pull her out of the star. When Marina had regained consciousness, she wasn't happy that they had saved her life, she was simply angry that she had fallen unconscious during the performance. She said that because she fell unconscious and because people pulled her out of the star, her performance piece had been ruined. She then created Rhythm 2. In Rhythm 2, she took a whole lot of medication. This medication made her unable to keep control of her muscles. There was actually some medication that she took that was only meant to be taken with those that had schizophrenia. But like I say, she wasn't just taking this one medication, she was taking a whole lot of different medications. She had a photographer on set with her, and they snapped all different types of photos of her in different stages of this performance. But when the performance was finished, Marina could not remember anything about this performance. So although she had photographic evidence, it wasn't enough for Marina, and then Marina went on to create Rhythm 4. So in Rhythm 4, she decided to sit naked in front of an industrial fan. She had a cameraman and she instructed him to only focus on her face. She then would breathe in as much of the air as she could and pass out. She wanted the cameraman to just keep filming her face, but he decided this was enough. He was so scared for her well-being, and actually because he pulled her out of the performance, he ended up saving her life. But Marina was not happy. In fact, she was incredibly angry that the cameraman had disturbed her performance. So she then decided to create a new performance where no one could get involved. And if people did get involved, it would be part of the performance art. She wanted her next piece where her entire state of well-being lied in the hands of the audience. So in 1974, Marina created her last of the series, Rhythm 0. Marina wanted to be put into a situation where even if people interfered with her art, it would be part of it. Previously, she had been frustrated with people messing with her performances, but in this act, it was welcomed and wholly depended on the outcome of the piece. She laid 72 objects on the table. Some objects were nice, a feather boa, a rose, food, water, etc. But there was also a majority of items that could also be used in a very unkind way. There were knives, scissors, a lead pipe, a hammer, rope, chain, and a gun with a singular bullet in the chamber. Attendees would walk in, see the table, and also see a slideshow of how the performance would work, with a note on the center of the table saying, "There are 72 objects on the table that one can use on me as desired. I am the object. During this period, I take full responsibility. The duration will be 6 hours." What Marina did not tell the participants is that she would be using a form of anesthetic that meant she couldn't move, she couldn't speak, and she could not respond to their actions. Those involved in the experiment first did nothing. They all just sat around not believing that they could do anything to Marina. One man stood up and gave Marina a rose. She did not respond in any way. Once this happened, more participants got up and gave her nice things. She still did not respond in any way. So then they realized that they could truly do anything. They started to draw on her and they started to lift her arms up, but very quickly this wasn't enough. One person broke her nose and another person cut her neck so he could drink her blood. More and more hideous things happened to Marina until the final hour, where one person took the gun, placed it into her hand, wrapped her fingers around the trigger, and moved it towards her neck. They wanted it to seem, and as there were no consequences, this would have no backlash on the person for doing this to Marina. Fortunately, the rest of the participants started arguing about this. It completely divided the room. Half the people wanted to allow this to happen, and the other half were fighting against this. They had not yet taken Marina's life, but had the final hour not nearly been up, and the rest of the room disagreeing with this, Marina could have lost her life. Once the 6th hour was up, Marina started coming back to her body. Her eyes slowly moved, and she started pacing very slowly around the room. Some participants just stared at her, and others completely ran away from the building. It was probably those that inflicted serious damage onto her. No one knew before the performance that when the 6th hour was up, this would happen. A quote about the experiment is as follows. "The experiment proved that the evil side of humanity is somehow contained because all of us needs to face the social consequences of our bad behavior." Marina's art was so dramatic and also so dangerous. No one had ever seen anything like this before. I mean, we're talking about this being the 70s. It was at a point where people would even faint at watching horror movies. But this is what made Marina such an icon in the art world, because she took risks that nobody else would. She was only in her 20s when she created the Rhythm series, and she has been an iconic figure of the art world for 4 decades. She has a lot of other art pieces, but it was the Rhythm series that I really wanted to look into because I had heard about Rhythm Zero and I really wanted to know more about it and then talk to you about it too. There is a lot more about Marina that I can go into and do another video about her because she has a lot to talk about. She even has some very stern views on the world. For example, she does not want children, she never did, and she actually thinks that children hold women back. She in fact had 3 because she said, and I quote, "Children hold female artists back." So if you want to know more about her, please let me know and I will do a second video on Marina. I think Marina was equally brave and equally stupid for her art experiments because she could have quite easily died in any of them. Like, she could have died in The Star had people just left her to do her performance. And she was in her early 20s, so she would have lost the whole rest of her life from this one performance. But what do you think? Because art is subjective, and I know that a lot of people have a lot of views on art and performances. So do you think that Marina earns a title as an icon? Or do you think she's just really silly? Do you think that her performances are deemed as art? Do you think that there's deeper meaning behind them? Or do you just think that Marina was dancing with death on multiple performances as each one grew more and more intense? I'm curious as well that if everyone treated her kindly in Rhythm Zero, what would have been her next performance? Because it would have been even more dramatic. So that would have been interesting to know about, but I don't think Marina would have survived whatever performance that would have been. I hope you enjoyed this video, a nice quick one from me, just on something a bit more bizarre, because although we do talk about true crime a lot, this type of topic really interests me too, and I hope it was interesting for you. But if you like this content and the rest of the content on my channel, please do feel free to subscribe, like, and comment on the videos. This helps this type of video and my other videos be seen by more people in the YouTube community. But for now, that's all from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. And remember, the next one might just be Ian Watkins, so stay tuned for that. Thank you.